Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Mamluks podcast. My name is Sim. Along with me are my co-hosts Mort, and we have a special guest this stormy Chicago evening. He is.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum,
I'm
brother
back
Ali.
in the studio.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Thanks for having me.
How you doing, man?
We got our main
Alhamdulillah.
man Ali.
We got Mort in the studio. Mort, what brings you in town?
Got a wedding in the family.
Family weddings.
Yeah.
Brown wedding.
Maluk.
Yeah.
Brown weddings are the worst, man.
That's why I came, because I'm like, it's the wedding is going on right now. I just came. It's 'cause I figured like I have at least an hour to kill before the food comes out. So I'm like, hey, let me just record this podcast and I'll come.
Exactly.
Nobody will even know I'm gone.
So, for people who don't know who Brother Ali is the guy we heard on the last podcast who Mort was narrating that story for the jinn related story. So that's how you know him. He'll be forever known as a jinn guy, and
Oh man.
I know he's incredibly enthusiastic with that nickname now because everyone's asking him about jinn stories. Well, we are in the artista season, right? So
Oh yeah, it is Halloween, right?
It's gonna be.
For the love, brother. It's Halloween.
Hey, listen, there's a difference
No.
of opinion on that stuff now. The original intent is gone, so I've heard. So, get ready to trick or treat, Mort.
Hey, I mean, to be honest, I used to go trick or treating anyways. My mom would, but you know what though? My mom would work too much, right? So we wouldn't really be able to go get costumes. So my mom would make us costumes. So one year, I remember this one costume. My mother, she got garbage bags, and she cut out like sleeves out of the garbage bag
Yeah.
and a hole on top. And for me, my brother, and she put like contact paper and she made M&Ms. So we walked around like M&Ms.
What?
And we got candy. I mean, it was brilliant. Now I think about it, it was a $2 costume, and we
So
made.
you just put like a sign like M&M.
Yeah,
right
just
there.
M. She made contact paper and she just traced out the M, and it looked like a legitimate M. She had me and my brother walking around with like M&Ms.
What color were you?
I was black. What else I was gonna
Black?
be? The black trash bag in the black trash bag.
Oh.
Just M&Ms.
I thought she painted it or something.
No, she just kept it black trash bag. It was just me, my brother walking two black guys M&Ms.
Wow.
Oh God, bro, my parents. God bless my mom, man. My all these kids when they were dressing up as vampires and stuff. My favorite vampire was my favorite thing in Halloween was vampires, and I wanted to be a vampire, but being a brown guy, that look doesn't go over very well.
Did you do whiteface?
You can't pull that off.
So,
Did you do whiteface?
well, there was Blackula. I don't know if you ever heard of Blackula. Have
Did
you
you
heard
wear
of
the fangs
Blackula?
too?
Wait a minute, hold on.
So yes, I did whiteface.
I just thought about that. How come there's no such thing as whiteface?
Astaghfirullah.
I mean, if you can do blackface, why isn't
No,
there
no,
whiteface?
you can
That's
do
it.
whiteface
I'm
all
putting
day.
my blast on Twitter right
I'm
now.
offended.
Whiteface.
I'm offended.
Yeah, I am.
I'm offended. Okay,
So
go ahead. So you
my mom didn't get us the actual
The
correct
makeup
the
kit,
correct makeup. So what we did is Halloween morning, and we took like talcum powder.
Yeah.
So took the baby powder, mixed it up with water. It just made some kind of paste, some goo. It just
No
smeared it
way.
all over your face, dude. It was horrible, man.
You probably smelled like
And the
baby
Dracula
ass.
cape was worse. It was like it might as well have been a trash bag because the Dracula cape was horrible as well. And the Dracula teeth, they were like these
The
glowing,
plastic one that would go. Like,
the glow in the dark teeth. They're retarded. Absolutely retarded.
You know, I'll tell you something. My mom was all about us, like making costumes that were from home, right? So I remember I must have been like in second grade, and I went with my dad, like Shamshir, and you know, back then, in grade school and stuff, people, I don't know why they would do this, but they would actually like use aluminum foil to cover the blades to make it look like it wasn't anything dangerous.
Yeah.
So here I am. I've got like these Aladdin pants on. All right. I've got like this turban thing on. And then I've got like this big shamshir like wrapped in foil, right? And so in second grade they had to make you essentially march down in different classrooms.
Yeah.
And here I am marching like this, right? And the foil comes off the sword, okay? And the white lady's like, "Oh my God, he's got a real sword!"
Oh God.
And here I am standing with this sword like this, and I got sent home. And they're like.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah. They're like, Mrs. Siddiqui, you can't send your son home, to school with a sword. And he's like, I didn't know it was a real sword. He had foil. But yeah, anyways, I mean, I think being a brown person and growing up with like Halloween, it was the most awkward thing because your parents wanted you to do it in some way, but they didn't know how to.
I remember my first Halloween after I came from the deserts of Medina. Naturally, we don't see these kind of deviltry type of events.
I just wanted candy, to be honest.
So imagine my shock and horror. I'm 6 years old and I'm walking home from kindergarten or walking to school to kindergarten, and all of a sudden, I see this giant green Frankenstein man walking down the street. I ran all the way back to my mom's arms, and I'm like, "What the heck is going on? There's monsters all over the streets." She had no idea because this is her first Halloween.
Oh, wow.
So she calls up her sister and she's like, "What's going on?" They're all like dressed up as like shaitan, like shaitani costumes. So she explains to her sister has been here for like 10 years before we arrived, and so she gave her the lowdown on how or what happens during Halloween, and luckily, I survived.
My dad was hilarious in Halloween. You know what he would do? He would leave an empty bowl and say, "Help yourself." Like someone took all the candy.
That's the worst thing you could do.
I waited on people like this, and I would just jack everything.
Everything.
Back.
I mean, but I was thinking about one thing, Abu. You know what was crazy is that Ali is when back in the day. I don't know if you guys remember this, like in the 80s and 90s, when you went trick or treating, it was safe for you to eat the candy. Like you didn't have to worry about stuff, right? Like nowadays,
I still think it's safe, man. I think people just there's a fear culture.
No,
going
I'm
on.
saying I think it's I don't know, dude. I
Really?
mean, yeah, dude. There's some crazy people. I mean, dude. Puts
the lotion on its skin kind of guys out there. No.
Yeah.
We talked about the other show.
Yeah.
The lotion on the skin.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ali. Did you understand the Buffalo Bill reference? He didn't. He didn't watch the movie.
I caught it on the last episode.
My wife was cracking up. She's like, "I can't believe you said that." I'm like, "Listen, they're all religious people watching the show. They have no idea what I'm talking about. You can make all kinds of cultural references, and we can be laughing our heads off, and no one would know the difference." Yeah. Mashallah, our people are. I mean, look, our fans actually elevate us.
Well, I'm a perverted mind. I don't know what Buffalo Bills mean. I mean, I was really. I mean, so
that's
I'm
good.
Kind of
you don't know.
I'm kind of feel bad about this now. I'm not bad anymore. I mean, I don't know.
Mashallah, that's why I hang out with you, so I can become, I can elevate myself and, to new ranks and.
Maybe I just don't watch too much TV anymore. That's probably why.
No, this is.
This is going back to the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, bro. It's
early 90s.
Oh, really? I know it's Cincinnati bow ties and that kind of stuff, rusty trombones.
Don't talk about
to the Lambs.
But I'm just saying, I mean, but I just never heard of that one.
I can't believe she said that.
Anyways, so look, Ali, you had this whole incident with this jinn stuff, right? So that's kind of what made you this whole star on Twitter. Is this the first time that your tweet went viral, like ever?
First time, absolutely first time.
It must have been crazy how you.
I told my wife, I was like, right? why is this so popular? I mean, I showed her when it was like 75,000, and then it got to 100K, and I was like, whoa, why do people even like this stuff? But
I know.
So did people actually subscribe to you, or you just retweeted it?
I got about 1,500 retweets, but most of it was, just likes and retweets and stuff like that. But
nice.
It got up to, I think it's up to like 149,000 now.
But what about your Twitter account, though? Did you get a nice little boost?
Like maybe I got 25 people.
Oh, yeah. I remember when I had retweeted one time Erdogan, where he was going to suhoor in the morning because someone had invited him to go for suhoor, and I tweeted that out, and I got from that I got 200 new subscribers.
Right. Yeah. I remember that.
I went viral on that one for some reason. I didn't put TMM nothing. I was just go tweet here. And I forgot. I didn't think it was going to be a big deal.
Well, Turks are very loyal about it.
They are.
I've had Erdogan, not Erdogan, but Turkish history related Facebook posts that went completely viral in Turkey, and we got a whole lot of Turkish not listeners, but they followed our Facebook page. But that ended up hurting us because Facebook will only show your post to a select number of people, right? And if you have people who are in different countries who don't really listen to your podcast or anything, and they're just scrolling through the Mad Mamluks and they just don't even bother clicking on your post, then you're kind of out of luck, you know? So you want, for us, it was like a horrible approach to our Facebook page.
Like a wrench, we got thrown in a wrench, basically. Like
I mean,
algorithm.
Next, if anyone is ever starting up a podcast, restrict it to your country. Don't go
Free
out.
advice. You should charge for that.
I should.
Make sure you donate $5 on Patreon for that advice. Yeah. So anyways, hey, we know I've known Ali for a long time. I don't know how long Sim has known Ali. I've known Ali for a really long time.
I just found out before the show that you guys were pals for about 15 years or so.
I told you that. And
I didn't believe you. I thought it was just like...
why are you calling him
No,
that?
I thought he was I thought he was my friend. I thought he was my friend before you, and now I'm having a little bit of jealousy that you met him before me. Because I thought me and him had something special. We had a special thing going on Twitter. And what do I know? Oh, Mort already knows him.
No, he's a good brother, mashallah. Alhamdulillah.
Took the romance out of the relationship.
I've had some good experiences with him.
Mort, you know what? It's so crazy that we always end up with those Pal Talk listeners who end up messaging us from back in the day. I want to say in the mid 2000s, when in the heat of Pal Talk. A lot of these people who, for those who don't know, Pal Talk is like a chat service. It's like chat rooms.
Yeah,
it's like chat rooms that have a certain topic.
Let's break it down to some of the new listeners who don't know. So we're old school. Back then, there was no Instagram, there was no Twitter. You literally, if you wanted to talk to people and share ideas, you had to log into a platform where you actually had chat rooms. You have to make a username, a profile. You have to go find these different rooms, and then like you would actually gather to be like 100, 50 people in a room, all different kind of fonts and icons, and you would be talking, and people would be taking the microphone, and they would be talking, and essentially they would exchange ideas. And so back in the days, one of the most famous places for Muslims to gather was, aside from Yahoo Chat, was Pal Talk. Pal Talk actually had mashayikh that would come on. Like, for example, remember Sheikh Khalil Amri, he came on. Dr. Saleh was on there.
Saleh?
Yeah. Allah yarham, he passed away. He was from Saudi Arabia. But then there were different people that would just come on there. I mean, it was a platform that was open, right? And
Sheikh Faisal was on there too. Remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Al-Jamaiqi, right? Yeah, he was on there too.
Al-Jamaiqi?
Yeah. Honestly, I would say this. It was a hotbed for younger people that wanted to hear ideas that were not mainstream, and it was a great place for them to get in mix with other people, right?
Oh yeah, that's how I met my wife.
Yeah. No, I mean, don't forget even that part. I'm not talking about the romance part, right? The romance. No. What I meant was more like, hey, if you wanted to hear about like what was going on in Afghanistan, or you wanted to hear about like what was going on in Syria, right, or whatever, in Iraq, you would log into Pal Talk and you'd go to find these Arab rooms and you would listen to the news, or you would you'd find out what was happening, and it made it like a recruiting ground pretty much. There are many people that kind of got radicalized on these different platforms, and the FBI and different intelligence agencies ended up like infiltrating. Like Prism, for many of you who don't know, Pal Talk was a big contributor to Prism. Prism was basically the joint effort by both all these different Western governments where they would share information. And here's how it works. It's crazy. Sorry, I digress for a minute, but America knows it couldn't spy on its citizens, right? And UK knew it couldn't spy on its citizens. So you know what it would do? It would say America would collect data on UK citizens and then report information to the UK, and UK would collect on the Americans, and so it would be like information exchange.
It's kind of like what Trump is doing with Ukraine.
Yeah. So
and Joe Biden.
Yeah. So this way, it was like, intelligence agencies are sharing intelligence, so it's not illegal because it wasn't the Americans that spied on their citizens. So that's what Prism really was. So you had all these like people, and guess who at the core of the software was?
Who?
The Israelis. Because all the information from America goes over to Israel and gets filtered, right? So anyways,
no surprise.
That led to different things like entrapment and all those kinds of things you heard of. Anyways, leading to a long story. But anyway, so this is how the whole online scene was for Muslims. There was no virtual, like, Twitter groups or Muslim Twitter or Muslim Facebook. This is all before MySpace, Twitter, all that stuff, right? This is where you want.
What's the new one all the little kids are using?
Instagram?
No, not the Instagram. It's a
TikTok.
TikTok, dude.
Yeah.
My daughter's addicted to that.
I think it's owned by the Chinese.
Do you have that TikTok?
I never had TikTok. No way.
Yeah, I think it's owned by the Chinese.
Not you. Your kids, man. That would be perverted if you were on there.
No, but there's some grown men out there, though.
I think my son does. I think Salahuddin does have it.
No, I think there's some grown men on there, though, in TikTok.
Whoa, man. You got to stop that.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
There's got to be an age limit.
I agree, bro.
My daughter was showing me. It's all little kids. It's
Oh, there's grown-ups on there, too.
Man, that's messed up.
Man, I hope not, bro. This is crazy, bro. I'm serious. Like, where's the line? Like, grown men walking into women's bathroom, following girls in because they think they're women now. I mean, no, what's the difference? I mean, I don't know. This is crazy. There's no lines anymore. Yeah. Anyways, So Ali, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Like, I don't want to say too much because I know too much about you. I don't
know too much.
No, I mean, I know his whole life pretty much. So I don't know what I should say, what I shouldn't say. So I figured let me let the guy introduce himself.
Yeah. That's a great idea.
Right. So tell us.
We didn't establish any ground rules before the show, so I think it's better.
Exactly. So if I don't know you,
how much money do you make?
Yeah. Are you looking for a second wife?
No. Oh no. Good.
Okay.
No. What I'm
sure?
saying is, no. What I mean is,
I'm positive.
Let's say we've never met before.
Some of us.
What is something that you'd want to let us what's something that you want to tell us? Like, you would tell us. How would you portray? Tell us about yourself.
My name is Ali. I have a Twitter page called Maliki Clique. I'm a convert to Islam here in America. I've been Muslim for 28 years. I have some stories, I mean, I've been to prison. That's where I became a Muslim. I've been.
Do you want to talk about that a little bit? Do you want to say how is that like a typical cliche story? Or
no. It's a great story because I heard it on his podcast. So
I figured why don't you tell us a little bit about that, because I feel like. People have this stereotype of people who become Muslim in prison, right? So let's try to talk about that for a second.
Okay. Well, I mean,
so do you want to talk about how you how you landed in prison or no?
Well, no, how you even got to the location.
Yeah,
what made you want to
talk about? I don't know what's off.
Because I know the story because of your podcast. So I want you to start from the beginning. Like, what made you want to leave to a different country?
Oh, you want which prison story are we talking about? Where
I'm talking about
the.
I'm talking about the other.
I'm not the one here where we became Muslim.
Oh, okay. Why don't you? I don't know about that story.
No, because there's one. I mean, that's later.
Yeah, the other prison story is awesome.
I know, but I want to know. Yeah. I mean, I think people want to know what made him become a Muslim. Like, what was that life-changing moment that made you a Muslim 28 years ago? 20 years ago, nobody knew about Islam here in America, right? I mean, Malcolm X didn't even come out. That movie didn't even come out yet.
Was he still alive?
No. What a
wow.
Dude,
he ain't even that old.
I sometimes think I'm very much.
You.
I think I'm young and I'm young at heart.
He looks younger than you too. Anyway, so why don't you go ahead and tell us about that? Tell us what was the driving point. How did you end up in that prison that you were in, and then what drew you to Islam? Well, how did you become a Muslim in prison?
I did an armed robbery. Okay, if anybody wants to know, I did an armed robbery. I went to
how much
prison.
You get?
Say again?
How much you get off the robbery?
I got 31 months, but I was looking at 8 to 10 when I.
No. How much money did you jack?
Sim is a capitalist, so he's worried about the money. How much money did you make? He wants to weigh the pros and cons. Was it worth doing the prison, the time versus the millions? You know what I mean? Trying to figure it out.
I mean, you can never measure time and money. I mean,
yeah.
I'll take the time any day, but so I was in there. I got 31 months. I was looking at 8 to 10, and so I wasn't really looking for Islam ever in my life. I was born and raised a Christian. And so this guy, to summarize, this guy named Omar, he was from Turkey. He was in for a white collar crime. And he just approached me and he asked me about, what I knew about Islam. I didn't know about Islam. We talked, we walked and we talked in the yard. And so I would go back to my cell and just think about what he would say, what he had said. And so one day he gave me a Quran and I read that. And, when I opened it up, I expected to see like 1,001 Arabian Nights. I don't know what I'm going to read, So I'm just going through it. All I got is time. I'm on my cell. I'm just going through the Quran. And of course, it's just like the Bible. So I'm like, this is I've read this book before. I know this is the same version of the same stories as that I knew as a kid, as a Christian. And so, long story short, he invited me to Jummah. And, honestly, I was never looking for Islam. But it made too much sense for me to ignore. And at the end, it was about 2-3 weeks that he was making dawah. About 2 or 3 weeks, I just found it irresistible. And I had to have it, So that's basically how I became Muslim.
Wait, what did you find irresistible?
The truth about it, because, I don't know if you listened to episode 1 on my podcast, but I explained that when I was 14, it was a very significant event in my life. I went to Wednesday Bible study, Friday youth night, and Sunday church 3 days a week. And so I was doing a Bible study, and I came upon something that contradicted another verse. And so I went to the Bible study teacher and I asked him, this says this and this says this, and I don't understand. They conflict with each other. And he looked at it and he said, I never knew that was in the Bible. And I'm like, you're the Bible teacher. I'm here for a Bible study, and you've never seen that in the Bible before? And so he said, yeah, but, I don't know what to tell you, but, you just got to have faith. And from that moment on, I was just like, no. I lost so much faith that night because he couldn't answer my question.
And then you went and robbed a bank.
Yeah, I said, I don't believe in Christianity. I'm going to jack people.
Yo, so wait, did you always have a problem with like the whole idea of a Trinity, or was that always an issue for you? Like the idea of believing like God is 3, or was that something that you didn't really struggle with?
That was an issue because I always, wondered, how could God be 1 and 3? And he's either 1 or he's not,
Yeah.
So, but, I have to understand, as a Christian, we're being fed this stuff since birth. And so that's the narrative. You're just repeating it, and you have to believe it. I'm white, I'm an American, I have to be Christian.
Right.
Period. End of story. Right. So in prison, I was the only white guy, of course. And so, I mean, talk about being marginalized inside of prison.
Oh boy.
It was, what is that guy? What is that white guy doing with the Muslims over there, the black guys? So.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can imagine. I mean, because I know in prison itself, I mean, the thing is, like, it's really racially segregated.
Oh, totally.
Like, if you I mean, even not by choice, like, you may not even want to be identified by that race or whatever it may be, but if you fit the profile, you got to walk with them. If you don't, it can be a tough life for you. You don't have a choice.
That's what everybody has to understand. You don't have a choice.
Right.
If you appear to be white, you're going to sit with the white people and the chow, and you're not going to sit with the mafia guys. You're not going to sit with the black people. You're not going to sit with the Mexicans or the Asians. Everybody has their own.
Now, are there like fake Muslims as well? Like people who just need to fit into like Japanese or Chinese, and
you mean like for protection?
Yeah, they don't have any crew. They don't have any
like yo, assalamu alaikum, Mak.
There's got to be like Asian, people who are Asian. They don't have any cliques over there.
You catch him eating pork in the corner. Like you out.
Like I'd never seen an Asian person in prison. Never.
They're too smart.
No, you know what it is, but I'll be honest though. They're just really smart. It's not that they're not criminals. No,
they're so racist, Mort.
No, it is because listen. It's
a good racism.
I look at the FBI statistics. I did it yesterday, right? Like I was comparing because you hear people say, oh, black people commit more crimes than white people, all that kind of stuff. And I'm looking at it, and like maybe certain crimes, yes, but if you look at overall, like the white and black people committing crimes, they're pretty much even out. You know what I mean? Like they're both likely to be criminals.
Yeah.
But you look at the Asian, it's like 1%, 2%, like 3%. It's like almost like null in all categories, right?
Triads.
And it's not because they're smart.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's not because they're not criminals. They're dirty people. I mean, they get involved in crime.
They just
criminals. Do white collar crimes in a way where they don't get their hands dirty. It's somebody else.
They're
right?
involved
Like,
in white collar, huh?
yeah, no. What I mean is, like, for example, like all these. Look, let's be mature for a second, dude. Anywhere you go, all these massage parlors, these mama sans, they're run by Asian people, right? You never seen them getting busted in the news for like prostitutes. Very rarely do you see it, right? But that's straight up prostitution in front of your face, right? They get away with it.
How did they get away with that?
Dude, they're like Chinese. Dude. I'll pay. They pay the mayors.
They just probably pretend like they don't understand, like they don't know the language.
Yeah, we don't know the rules, or something. You know what I mean? Like, you just get away with it. I'll give you an example. So one of my uncles on my mom's side, Rashid. Okay, back in the 70s. Listen.
He calls his uncle by his first name, by the way.
In the airport, right? So you can't park. You can't park. This is before pre 9/11 too, right? You just can't park in the front. You gotta wait, right? You gotta pick up the person and leave. So,
right.
So the guy comes to him and tells me, and he's telling me the story, by the way, right? Yeah. Later on, like 15 years ago, he's telling me the story. He's like, yeah, the guy told him, hey, sir, you got to move. He's like, no English. He kept telling him no English, right? And the guy's like, oh, what the hell is going on, right? The guy doesn't understand English. Finally, 20 minutes go by, he's getting frustrated. And finally, the person comes in the car who he has to pick up. And then he goes, all right, see you later, right? I mean, basically the whole time he's just, jerking them off, you know what I mean? Like, oh, whatever, But I mean, that's and they get away with it. Asians get away with that kind of stuff because they have this nice persona, like they're harmless, they're not gonna do anything, they're educated, right? The whole persona about being Asian, right? And you don't think they're gonna do a crime.
Look, have you ever seen any Asian person kind of like, baddie and like, just acting all eccentric and they just seem like level-headed people. But
you know where Asians make up on the crime though, right? They're kitty fiddlers.
Sure.
I swear to God, if you go look at the statistics, they are kitty fiddlers.
Right,
you see all these like,
are you serious?
And mainly it's Hindus. I don't know what it is, but like they
fiddle Hindus?
No, I don't. If Hindus or not, I don't know what they are. But if you go like a DuPage County, like in this area around here, it's like I don't.
So you're talking about the stats in DuPage County?
Well, I mean, I haven't done this stats across the globally, but I mean, generally I look around Illinois. I used to live here, right, to see like what must-sees in the news today, right? Yeah. So I would look through. I got some cousins that are locked up too, right? So just go check out the profiles and your mugshots, and it's all these Patels like lined up for like kitty fiddling.
Oh, I thought the Chinese were fiddling the Patels. I'm like, what's going on?
No.
Why are our people so submissive? Chinese.
No, I mean like they're going to prison for fiddling kitties. Like they're like pedophiles, right? And no, I don't know. Ali could probably correct me, but I think in prison, if you down with the Muslim, it's kind of hard to mess with the Muslims in jail. I think I could be wrong.
Oh yeah, I mean whenever we walk anywhere, it's just like.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, but I mean, so you're right. I mean, so now here we are. So this is like, now you're a Muslim, right? This is so now you start learning your religion in prison.
We're just learning the basics.
Right.
There's a lot of people in there. Of course, like they don't have again, this is not 1991, so there's not a lot of people that know about Islam, and so I myself was just learning the basics. So.
So a lot of the English resources for Islam were limited, right? Because there was not too much in English for reverts, right? I mean, in 1991, what was really available for you guys? I mean, besides the English copy of the Quran.
We had the English copy of the Quran. We had this book called Islam in Focus. Actually, it's a really good book.
Oh, I remember that book.
I remember that book. And do you remember those little, those orange and pink and white books, like Stories of the Prophet? Like
those were from Sunday school.
Yeah, Sunday school. I don't know what they were, but they had like this different color coordination.
God bless those. I don't know who those authors are. We would have brought them on the podcast, but I looked up a few of them, and they're dead now.
Oh, damn. Yeah,
Allah yarhamu.
Do you remember?
That's not what you're supposed to say, by the way. You're supposed to say Allah yarhamu.
Allah
yarhamu.
Yeah. So listen, do you remember Everyday Fiqh? Was that a book too?
Oh yeah, that was what's his name?
Ahmed Sakhar?
No.
I don't know, who is it?
Some.
That was like a green book. Remember? It was like a green
No. Everyday Fiqh. It was a blue book.
Blue book, but they made it green later on.
No man, it was always blue.
No, it was blue. Then they made it green. Trust me, they made it green later.
Well, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, I remember it had the most cheap binding out of all the books. So when you open it all the way flat, it would like just rip apart. Anyway,
I love the guy's name. That's why I forgot. I'm
so how
really
did you
upset.
forget it? What a liar you are! How could you love a name and forget it? Anyways, so look, so 1991. So now this is about like 93 when World Trade Center happens.
Oh, Yusuf Islahi.
Oh, Yusuf Islahi. Oh, he came to my house. My boy.
He used to teach.
Yeah. Anyways,
What was his name?
Maulana Yusuf Islahi.
Yeah, it's a Tanzimi guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, so 91. Wait, when did you get out of prison? 92?
93.
93.
Late 93. Yeah.
So you got out right after or before this World Trade WTD, the World Trade Center?
I think I was out already.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that happens. Does that cause any kind of like, trouble for you? Like, were you like doubting Islam? Like, oh my God, these guys are wild.
No.
Okay.
Well, I mean, of course, but I was dealing with my own struggles at the time because my whole family disowned me. Like, everybody, and I'm fresh out of prison, and it's just like,
Oh, wait a minute. So would you consider your family to be like practicing like Christian? Like, is that why they would abandon you?
Yeah, well, because I'm supposed to be a Christian, right? I'm a family member, and
but are they practicing though? Like, are they like?
I told people that I was a Muslim inside of prison, and they just, what? And it's just like maybe a month or two later, it was like, don't ever talk to us again. You're dead to us. So.
Oh, was that your dad?
Everybody. Wow. Everybody.
So like that to this day, or?
Oh no, everything's good. I'll talk to with my dad and my mom.
So you get out of prison now, and now you have no one to contact, no one to go home to.
Right.
So what do you do now? It's 93.
I was living with a couple of Saudis.
93?
Yeah, 93. Biggie Smalls just dropped an album, Ready to Die. So it's 93. What do you do now?
I'm living with a couple, because I told my story at the masjid, and these Saudi guys overheard it. Me telling the imam, they're like, you're gonna come live with us. So I kind of just lived with them, and they were teaching me a little bit about Islam. I mean, they didn't know much. They just were more interested in other things in America. So they wanted me to educate them on other things. But yeah, but they created a good environment, at least, that I can.
So you found some type of brotherhood, essentially.
Say again.
Oh, we
got some thunderstorms.
Thunder?
That's thunderstorms, bro.
That's gin thunder right there, man.
Yeah, I know, right? No, but
bringing hot fire.
So now you got some kind of brotherhood, and so where are you now in the States, by the way? In '93, where'd you get released to?
Seattle.
Seattle, okay. All right, so now you're in Seattle. So what? There's like a big Somali population there?
Not yet. So what's Somali? They came over in mid I want to say mid 90s to late 90s. Then they really started showing up.
So after the Somali War, pretty much, Civil War. Okay.
Yeah.
So what was the Indo-Pak community then?
Arab.
Okay.
The community that I went to was there was about 80% Saudi. So.
Oh, with like school students, right? There were pilot students that were there.
Yeah, they worked for they were mechanics in school here in America for Saudi Airlines. So.
They usually come here to learn how to be a pilot.
A lot of them. One of my cousins, he just left right now. He just went back. He became a pilot.
It's a joke.
Oh.
I caught it, Sam. I got you.
Thank you, Maliki.
Your joke's not funny anymore. You're just not
No, it was right there.
It's
called deadpan humor.
You used to be funnier before. I don't know what happened.
Get out of here.
He was looking at me to see if I caught it. I got you, Sam.
I know. He just used to be funnier before. I don't know.
Anyways. I think it just went over your head.
No, but anyways, so 93, you're out, you found a new community in Seattle, Washington. Now you want to further your career, or your Islam and become more, studying more about your religion and stuff. What happens now? What do you do?
Well, when you and I met, I was talking about, the hijrah, getting away from America and being amongst people so I could be the majority, So I went to Egypt in 2005, and from there, I studied with just small shayukh inside of the masjid, and they would teach me Deen. Most of them spoke English, so
like
that's where it really took off. But before that, when I started listening to the wrong things, I got my hands on some Sheikh Faisal tapes, and that's where I really started thinking, this guy's talking about takfir, and this is a kafir, and that's when you remember the Saudi Salafis. That's when they the jihadi Salafis, whatever.
So there was a big split at this moment. I think there was like the people that were the Madkhalis, and there was like a Salafi jihadis.
Madkhalis are the government guys.
So yeah, and they called them murja, right? They were like, oh, these people were excusing the actions of scholars, while the Salafi jihadis were like, no, the scholars are kafir because of Tawheed al-Hakimiyyah, meaning Allah has the right to rule over everything. So if you recognize those rulers and make excuses for them, you're making irja. Like, I mean, you're becoming you're not making takfir of them, so you're becoming a kafir too. Essentially, that was the whole idea, right? They were making takfir of the other side.
That was just a time of slogans, like how it was in the Khawarij days, you know. Just
yeah, I mean, it was.
Tawheed al-Hakimiyyah, Tawheed al-Hakimiyyah.
But you know, to be honest, though, it was. I think it was not just even that. It was like, I mean, even the Sufis were wanting to debate Aqidah, and then we had one camp where like a Sufi was trying to debate Aqidah with us, and then there was like the Salafi jihadis, then there was like the Madkhalis, and then I mean, I saw all kinds of. I mean, and that's when like even Hisham Kabani at the time was still like. He just came out and he was like claiming momentum, and it was just a really strange time for Muslims. Like, you don't know where to go. You know what I mean? You were like, hey, I kind of agree with that. I kind of agree with this, but my friends are that. My family's this. You know, my mosque is that. So what do I do now? You know what I mean?
Usually you aren't with your friends.
And it caused a lot of big problems between even family members, you know. You had little kids talking about, oh, my mother and father are not a Muslim anymore. It was terrible. You know?
Yeah, I know. And so that's why I think part of the reason why places like Pal Talk became a nice little refuge, because people could just share these ideas and hear and at least just kind of like at least learn about more what they thought was right, you know, or made sense. And at times it became even sort of like an echo chamber, maybe. But
it was dangerous for a lot of people, though, that didn't know about Islam, you know.
Everyone was against. It was like heavy Muslim-Christian debate, so a lot of the Muslims kind of found Christian a common bound, right? And they rallied around what was Salafism, I think.
No, you're right.
Most of those guys were Salafis.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I remember going on to Pal Talk for the first time because one of our mutual friends, one day I was just sitting at home, and he's like, yo, let me install Pal Talk on your computer. I'm like, what is this thing? So he goes, all right. Like, there are people on, there are kuffar that are insulting the Prophet online. I'm like, oh, okay, let me go. And by the way, mind you, I wasn't even like that serious about religion at that time.
Yeah.
I just log in and curse the hell out of them. And I'm like, oh, you know, you beeping, beep, 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 you know. And then I was like, cool, all right, later, you know.
That was the Tufa Alek days.
Yeah, exactly. I just didn't have I didn't really care. I just, these are just haters. Let me just spit on them and leave, right? And then a couple years later, I was bored one day, and then I started going on to see what these arguments were. And that is what, in a weird way, was a catalyst for me to learn about my religion. Because I knew in my heart that Islam had an answer, even though I didn't know about it. I knew that I would just kind of, and I would be frantically like Googling and like searching, right? And like, you know, and like figuring out, what's that? Because there would be like these sneaky Arabic speaking Christians and Coptics that would like catch you. Oh, God. What about this?
Nothing motivated you to learn about your faith than a Coptic Christian.
Yeah, I mean, it's sad, right? But no, but it felt like,
I am telling you, man, those guys, they actually helped us in so many ways, because when I was first getting to the faith, I came across a Christian Coptic website that had a challenge to the Quran.
Is it
right?
answeringislam.com?
Some answering Islam. I'm
Sam
not sure.
Shimon,
I don't remember. But they had what, to an unlettered Arabic person, I mean, not really unlettered, but someone who doesn't know the difference or doesn't know the miraculous nature of the Quran, you'd like, oh, well, how do I know this is not the Quran? I'm just going off of what Mort here is saying is, that this is the miracle of the Quran. But this guy, he sounds like he's rhyming.
Yeah.
So how do I know it's not?
But I think it's somewhere inside, like the fitrah, like that desire, that yaqeen in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm like, there's an answer in Islam. And I think that comes going back to, alhamdulillah, like me and Sim, and I tell people this, like, we had Sunday school growing up. I think that was our lifeline.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it, we hated it, but that was kind of our identity, that building identity, a process, in our minds. Right. That building that tawakkul, or that yaqeen in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
But
and
not
his,
just
and his
that,
message.
more. It's that too. You're right. And there's also coupled with being a minority that's not being accepted. I think nowadays, my kids, my daughters being hijabis and being in public school, they don't get picked on at all. I think they need to get picked on a little bit, dude. I think it creates some kind of bond with your common Muslim identity. Other Muslims who are
That's a little lefty for
Yeah,
me. dude.
who'll have your black?
Identity politics here.
No, I'm talking about not identity, dude. We're not talking about race or anything. We're talking about faith-based
Yeah, it's identity. Your
identification.
religion is your identity, right?
That's
Your
the only
hijab-
identity that should matter to you
Yeah,
as a Muslim.
so-
That's what I'm in favor of for.
No, but I
But
think,
in
no, but
terms
to be
of-
honest, I think if you look for it enough out there in the public, there's no doubt about it, that Islam and Muslims are subject of a lot of controversy and targeting, right? I mean, we see it all over the place. I mean,
Yeah, but at school nowadays, it's all
well, yeah, because
everyone's
bullying
walking
zones
under a
and-
rainbow.
Yeah, but I mean, I get that, but don't forget, you live in an area where it's different. I mean, I guarantee you, if you go downstate and put your girl in the hijab in the school, I
You gotta
guarantee
make
you should get bullied.
We gotta make a hijrah down south.
Yeah, I mean, I remember. I mean, me and Sim. No,
do it.
no. I'll be like, me and Sim went to school. I mean, back in this area used to be hardcore Italian and like Irish. And I'm telling you, like the old mob in Chicago, people don't believe that. Like the mob,
Wow.
the outfitters, Al Capone's mob, they didn't retire till recently, and they moved out to Lombard
No
and Villa
one-
Park and those areas, and they were old school mobsters. And their sons had that mentality that, hey, we're mob boys and we don't like your kind. They thought that because they had recently got accepted as Americans, right? Because Italians were not considered to be white people before for a long time, right? They were actually lynched for a while down south, right? And then what happened was that after the mob got famous, the mafioso, all that kind of stuff, and people started respecting them, right? So they felt like they were part of America. Oh, we're Italian Americans, right? This whole
Italian.
thing. Yeah, so they call it Italian. I'm Italian American, right? And so we had to deal with that growing up. Nowadays, out here in these areas, these kids have like halal food in like their lunch programs. We didn't have that.
Halal lunch program.
We had to pick off like
Oh.
pork off the food and the kids have pork on it.
But isn't that happening today, though? I mean, with the new immigrants that come in and they were at the bottom, and then they can look at us like the Muslim people
Yeah.
as someone below them.
Yeah, I feel that. Yeah,
I see that happening to these.
Well, that's why a lot of my daughter says that a lot of her friends, they're first generation or kids of first generation Muslims. They're like, wait, I can't believe your parents are the way they are, because they can't have any kind of intelligent conversation about what they're struggling with and things like that. And they're like, oh wow, you're lucky your parents actually understand what you're saying, and it's
Yeah.
kind of sad because.
yeah. No, I get you.
There's still like we don't realize that there's just this steady stream of immigrants that are still coming to the country, and their kids are probably they're not in the situation we were in because they're not being teased at and stuff like that. Not totally being accepted
It's
either.
a different set of problems.
But we had that the kind of like a gang mentality,
We did.
because no matter if me and you didn't get along more, that would be fine. But as soon
When it
as
came time to
when it came time to some kids bugging me or you, we all have each other's back, and that was something
It was like,
that
that's a kafir, that's a Muslim. There's
Yeah.
no choice about it, right? We can go back and beefing later, but let's handle that one first. Right?
So-
Nowadays, it's kind of like, how dare you talk about them? Like, those are my friends. They're good people. Like,
Yeah.
what? Yeah, but
Right.
I mean, it's just, and I think it's a different set of problems too. Like for us, it was more about being accepted. Now it's more like you're being, I don't know how to put this, but there's too many things you integrate with your culture now.
Yeah.
That is becoming too problematic. Like you're just like,
Yeah.
hey, you're accepting too much of it, right? So
yeah,
it's kind of like,
we completely forgot about Maliki's story.
Yeah.
Maliki, now you're in Egypt.
Yeah, so I'm in Egypt, and so I lived there for about 10 months with no incident,
Yeah.
but still the mouth got me in trouble. This is when I was, talking about a lot of things that I shouldn't have. And, in hindsight, it really wasn't my fault because I'm a convert. And if you tell me that this is Islam, I'm going to believe you. Like I have nobody in my past as a child that could really explain to me what the fundamentals of Islam was. You have to see that's what that happens to a lot of people that convert to Islam. So I'm in Egypt. I take a job as a English teacher in the Egyptian American Center. And so one night, it's about 10 o'clock at night, I get a knock on my door. And I think I was on Pal Talk at the same time. I'm pretty sure I was on Pal Talk. And so I open the door, and there's the guys in white with the little black berets. That's the Egyptian police. And so they come in and they question me. Who are you? What are you doing here? What do you do in the States? all kind of questions. And they searched my apartment and everything. And so, long story short, I get arrested. And so we walk downstairs, and my Boab is looking at me in handcuffs, and he's just Boab is a doorman, and so he's just looking at me like, Ali, what's happening? And I didn't know myself what was going on. And so like I go out and look at the street. It's like Devil's Advocate, if you ever saw that movie. Like
Yeah.
New York is like there's nobody on the street. That's basically what it was. They had blocked off the street to the left, to the right, and they led me out. So this is the last 10 days of Ramadan.
Bro, if it's Egypt, you just like disappear into a crowd like Hannibal Lecter at the end of Silence of the Lambs. Just go disappear in there. Like
You can't disappear. I mean, the stories that I've heard, and the people that I've seen. So anyways, they take me to jail and more interrogation and everything. But I thought they were really going to let me go because I was answering, them everything that I knew, which was really nothing. I was just a mouthpiece. I was just talking, right? So it didn't really get real until they shipped me off to Cairo to a place called Al-Zughli. And I didn't learn what Al-Zughli was until I Googled it like many years ago. And that's a place you don't want to go. That's where they send the real bad guys. So I come up, and after a three-hour bus ride to Cairo, so I get out of the van, and there's an old guy with I know guns. There's an old guy with a old Israeli style Uzi, and he said, cover his face. So they put my T-shirt over my face, and that didn't happen in Alexandria where I was living, and so
why did they put a T-shirt over?
Then it got real. I was just like, are they about to kill me? I don't know who these people are. This has like never happened. I can't hear anything. I can't see anything. And so they, I made a whole episode about it on Maliki Clique podcast.
Yeah.
So they just take me through it. They the first day I was there, they chained me sideways behind my back, and they wouldn't let me pray. They wouldn't let me, go to the bathroom. They wouldn't let me do anything. And so I told him one day, I told the guards, I said, أنا مريض, and حر, I'm sick, and أعطيني مي لو سمحت, give me some water, please. And the guard just said, يلا ميت, die then. We don't care. يلا, go and die. So that was being stripped with no clothes on, with handcuffed behind my back for a whole day and a night, while them talking. See, you have to understand, I went to Egypt with the intention of living there forever. I wanted to learn my deen. I wanted to live around Muslims. And so in my mind, I'm thinking, but these are Muslims. What's happening? Why are they doing this to me? I'm home. I'm amongst my people, right? No, you're not amongst your people. So, long story short, I met some people inside, and there's some really good people, but with some really bad stories. With this one guy, Mus'ab, that I talk about in my podcast, he's in jail for reading the Quran after Fajr, and so he was approached by Amandola, by the state police, and they said the Salah is finished, right? And he said, yeah. He said, well, gotta go. Let's go. Get out. And he asked him, are you the mosque, the keeper or something? He said, no, I'm Amandola. And he said, well, I'm just reading the book of Allah. And he got arrested. And this is a guy who I was really close to in prison. And he always used to smile at me when I would come back from my interrogations and my beatings, put into stress positions, and beat blindfolded every time. I never saw anybody that beat me or interrogated me. It was always blindfolded. That happened for like 10 days. And the 11th day, they took me to Al Khalifa jail in Cairo. And I was set free and paraded in front of a Cairo International Airport in shackles from my waist all the way to my feet, and paraded in front of thousands of people looking at me like I'm some criminal. So
wait, how did they let you free though? Well,
two people came from the embassy.
Yeah.
the State Department or something.
How did they
And
find out that you were in prison?
I have no idea. I think
They probably knew.
one
They probably had an identification as visa, and they probably contacted.
They're the ones who probably told on him.
Yeah.
yeah, I think it was a couple of my students were like, where's Mr. Ali? But I don't know. I'm convinced that the FBI gave them total green light because
Yeah.
when I was in Egypt, the people would say, "Anta Lebanon." Sorry.
No, I mean,
where
did
are
you
from?
say
I was like,
anything?
I'm American. Like, why are you here then? For what? Like, you must have done something really bad. You're an American here in prison? I said, Ladri, I really don't know.
Did you
So-
make any anti-Egyptian or anti-American statements while you were in Egypt? Did you talk about Khilafah, jihad, or anything like that?
I didn't really, like I said, it was just a mentality that I didn't know what I was doing, right? But as far as anti-Egyptian and anti-Egyptian, no, never. Because you have to realize, I thought this was a good place to live. And
Yeah.
it might be for some people. But as far as anti-American, I would say that I made some statements that were anti-policy, like maybe like the war or things like that.
Do you think
But
someone
nothing
sold you out?
nothing like death to America. Or
No, I mean,
any
do you think
things like that. No.
someone you shouldn't have trusted sold you out, or do you think someone was watching your internet usage or something like that? I'm trying to get to the bottom of
Someone's
this.
probably watching my internet
Okay.
because, like I said, I was on Pal Talk and I was
It might have been from Pal Talk. You never know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
probably.
Probably Coptic.
Oh, the Coptics,
so-
they really
so
think that they
now-
got it bad in Egypt.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
They're the kings. They're the ones who are probably torturing you.
Yeah.
That's it.
So now they get you on a plane out of Egypt
Straight to
What?
New York.
to New York.
Yeah.
Okay. And so now you land in New York at JFK or LaGuardia. Which one?
Right.
JFK,
I landed in LaGuardia.
LaGuardia. Okay. So I'm sure that's a fiasco too, right? When you get in, they're probably questioning you too.
Yeah. FBI agent met me right at the gate. It's
Yeah.
like, Mr. Ali, we really want to talk to you about what happened. And so I said, well, I don't have a choice anyway. So I went with him and he asked all of these questions. And I said, yeah, actually, I'm thinking about lodging a complaint against the Egyptian government. And that's when I knew he was, I was fishing for information. And he said, yeah, but you probably don't want to do that.
Hmm.
And I was thinking in my mind, like, he would say that to anybody else. He wouldn't say that to anybody else except me if he didn't give them the green light. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
American government.
I mean, usually,
totally
yeah. I mean,
gave them the
if
green
another
light.
government wrongs you, you probably have the right to go and file a lawsuit, right? Why wouldn't you? But yeah, it makes sense. Maybe the ones who kind of gave out. I don't know. We do know that there have been times. It's been recorded where the Americans will send certain prisoners over to Egypt
Yeah.
for torture reasons, where they won't allow them back in America.
They know
And-
how. They really do.
Yeah, they did that to what's his name, Khalid.
So, if you go to cage prisons, you'll find this kind of
No,
stuff.
bro. Who's the mastermind?
Khalid Mohammed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Khalid Muhammad. That
yeah, yeah. Maybe. I mean, but I mean,
they
like I
sent him
said,
to Egypt and locked away the key or threw away the key.
yeah. I mean, so
They
so
did
now you're
prepare
back in America and you're here now. So this is what 2006.
Yep. 2006. Yeah.
Okay. So now what's going on in your life now? 2006. Now what happens?
Picking up the pieces because my wife was over there and my kids, and so now I had to really scramble for money and bring them back because I had sent for them. I wasn't there with them the whole time, so I sent for them, and they were in Egypt, but I was in prison while they arrived. So like they were wondering, and it might have been my ex-wife that like alerted the State Department to what was happening to me, but. Yeah, so I get back to New York, and from there, it was really just trying to pick up the pieces of my life and figure out what happened to me, because it's a lot of people were there for years, but I was only there for 10 days, in the last 10 days of Ramadan. And it was really difficult for me. I had a lot of like hatred and like trust issues for Muslims in general.
Yeah.
I was just like, how could these people do this to me, and it was then that I realized that people are different, even inside Islam.
You know what? And one thing I tell a lot of people is that, you know, I've seen a lot of brothers who say, "Oh, I'm gonna make hijrah. I'm gonna do this," and I'm like, "Listen, spend time. Spend time. Just spend a day, a couple of days, and you'll see this is not some kind of utopian universe. Like
what do you expect?
When I come back to America, I kiss the ground when I come back here.
Right.
No, I'm being dead serious. When I was traveling on the world, and I even go to the American embassy to handle some businesses, I would just even be like, home. I just be like, yo, this is home. You know what I mean? Like I can't describe it to you. But there's certain things that you don't know what you have. There's things that you don't even realize that you have. That you can't understand until you travel.
Forget about like back home Muslim countries. You can go to Europe and you'll come back. You'll be like, oh my God.
No, but no one's making hijrah to Europe.
No, I'm just saying.
About people that want to make hijrah and say,
I'm just saying,
kuffar and that kind of stuff. You go live in Saudi Arabia. Go live in Yemen. Go to Pakistan. Go to Egypt. You'll see. I've never had to duck in between alleys in America ever in my life. But I had to do that in Muslim countries.
What do you mean, like duck between?
Like be aware, because I had a beard. I had to be like a long beard. I had to hide from security police.
Holy cow!
Yeah, maybe in Saudi Arabia I got around, but even then in Saudi Arabia I had to watch out what I was saying about certain mashayikh or certain political figures. You got to worry about it.
How did you not get arrested in Egypt?
Who, me?
Yeah, you. Because you had the long beard.
They tried. Dude, they tried. I'm saying we would just dip out of alleys. They don't know who you are, but they were at a point where they were like, "Yo, if you had a beard and you saw the little blue paddy wagon that was Amenadola, right? The blue paddy wagon,
yeah.
And like if they caught you walking around, they would just come and nab you." I remember one time we were coming into the apartment. I was living in Akhir Mekrim Obeid in Madinat Nasr, and literally we're coming in, and I came up the stairs after the Bawab had let me in, and I see down the hallway some brothers are being raided, and I'm like, oh, Steph, I want to do something, but I can't because I got this beard. They'll catch me. I'm going next, right? So I just kind of creep back in the apartment, and I like lock the doors, and I'm like, you know, and just kind of minding my business because it was real like that. And what they were doing is they wanted to show America that, hey, we're on your team, that we're down anti-terrorism stuff too, so we're going to get anybody that looks like a terrorist. That's the funny thing. You had to look like one. If Ali went there with a clean-shaven beard and a tie and suit, nobody would have bothered him, right? Yeah. Nobody would have touched him at all. Right? They would have been, oh, Tal, come here, take a picture with us, eat with us. If I went there dressing like hip-hop and trying to be, I was walking around in a throw with a beard down to my chest.
Bro.
And like, yeah, I mean, like, I'm just saying.
That's why you gotta dress up like Sayyid Qutb.
No, but listen. But you think in a Muslim country it's fine though, right? You would think in a Muslim country it's fine, right? I mean, you're talking about young kids who walk around. You're like, oh, I'm gonna go back home where a beard is accepted, being a Muslim is accepted. No one's gonna bother me about that. They will bother you more back home about that than they will bother you in this country. Right? They will not even see, in America you have to say dumb things to really get in the spotlight. Over there you just have to look a certain way to get in the spotlight. Right? Just look a certain way and that's it. And I tell people, we're not even talking about the basic rights like getting your right to I don't know, your ID renewed or getting a license or finding a doctor. We're not even talking about those things yet. We're talking about like basic like human right things where, hey, don't put me in jail, like that kind of stuff, right? You know what I mean? And like, so I tell brothers, if you really want to make hijrah, know where you're going. Understand that there's a lot you're gonna be changing and giving up, right? It's not all utopia as a lot of people think. Understand it's going to be harder than what you have now, and you may end up coming back. Most likely 99% of people that I know that made hijrah have come back to the States.
Yep, exactly.
No, and this doesn't apply just to like revert. And
there are a few brothers who went to Malaysia and Indonesia or Turkey. They found more success in those areas. If you are looking, I don't want to completely discourage people. If they really do feel like, they would survive or do better in Muslim country, I would encourage them in the right direction and not go to Egypt, So.
I'm saying there are other places, but don't be under the assumption that you're going to be in some kind of utopian Islam. Like you're going to have, Islamic law. No, you're going to find corruption. You're going to find Muslims that do you dirty. You're going to be hurt by them. Understand that they are not developed countries. They're gonna hurt you. They're gonna scam you. They're gonna To understand that, be ready for that. That's all I'm trying to say. If you want to live there, by all means, live there.
Yeah.
I mean, there are people who live in Egypt today, but I'm just saying it's not the life that you're thinking right now. You have to know how it is before you go there, right? So
Totally
spend a
agree.
week there, see how it is, then talk about bringing your family and all that stuff. Anyways, so now you're back in the States, Ali. You're picking up the pieces of your life, right? And so now this is around 2006ish. You're back in Seattle now.
Yeah, I went back to Seattle and got a job as a taxi driver. It's the story, the gin story. That's when it happened.
Oh, that's when the gin
So
story happened.
yeah, I was working the 5 p.m. to 5 a.m. shift. Every dreg of society was in my car. It was just, you get to the point where you have to, and I would just park the car and say, I'm taking a month off, a month or two. I'm done, because so many people that you would, so many people that it just drags you down. You know what I'm saying? It's just people sharing their life stories with you. And dude, I don't even want to know you. Just give me the money where you want to go. Here you go.
You're probably at a point where you're just kind of like put off by people in general, right? I mean, you just went through this ordeal. And you're
they treat you like a psychiatrist, like a psychologist or something. I don't even know you. I can't even pretend to know about your problems or how to solve them within the 7 to 8 minute ride that I'm giving you. Go talk to a professional.
Yeah, I get you,
bro. So for the listeners out there, we're running out of time, but make sure you check out Maliki Clique on
Twitter.
No, not on Twitter. On his podcast,
Oh,
Spotify.
podcast, yeah.
So his podcast
Anchor.
is on Spotify, and I'm going to help him get it on iTunes as well. So hopefully he'll be set up on iTunes.
Yeah, I mean, I've been talking to him. I'm supposed to have him on Muzzy Buzz too. We're supposed to do some things that just never got around. I haven't made a video
he's got
yet.
a lot of great stories and things like this.
Me and him go so far back. We have so many stories that we can't just cover them in an hour. It's just so many different things.
No way.
That I just want to chop it up. Like we didn't get a chance to chop it up like how we were supposed to. So I want to save that for like a Muzzy Buzz or Maliki. I come on one of the shows.
Oh, we are going to do another gin story though before Halloween.
Yes.
A lot of
But if we do that episode though,
yeah,
you have to dress up as a Dracula.
vampire?
a black vampire.
No, we gotta do white face.
And you
Black
have to dress
Blackula?
up as the
white face.
Eminem more.
Yeah, I will. If I'm in town, I'll do that. Otherwise, I'll try to find it.
How about we dress up as a red and green M&M?
Okay, we'll do that. I'll do the black one like I was. and then we'll do, and you can do some green one, and we'll do it. All right, we'll do M&Ms.
Cool.
All right,
All right, guys.
And you can play Frankenstein.
Who, me?
Right, Ali, yeah, Ali, you tall enough. You got that. You can just play Frankenstein. We'll just make you
How
Frankenstein.
how about a Viking? I'll dress up as a Viking.
That'd be cool. We can do that too, definitely. Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right.
Awesome.
Jazakallah khair, Ayman. Thank you. Ayman always gives me a shout out to support. I've subscribed to my channel. I love
Thank you
man.
guys.
Buzz.
Make sure you subscribe to Muzzy Buzz, YouTube.com/Muzzy Buzz, and help us out on Patreon.com/The Mad Mamluks. Our operation requires your support. It is not possible. All the stuff you see in these videos, this is with your support, with your encouragement, and all that. That's how it's all possible. If you are a PayPal only user, you can go to themadmamluks.com/donate. Jazakallah khair, everyone. Thank you so much, Brother Ali.
Thanks for having me. I enjoyed it.
Click. Make sure you subscribe to his podcast on Spotify. For my co-host Mort and our guest Ali, my name is Sim. We'll see you all later. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.